Alright, Shalom Israel. My name is Naka Aman, and the name of this presentation is going to be called Israelite Dress Code. As many of you are coming into understanding who we are as the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, we're definitely not only changing our diet, we're not only changing our worship practices, but we're also changing our dress code. So this presentation is going to go into some do's and some don'ts and some historical information, as well as some concluding information that will hopefully help solidify in your mind why we should dress a certain way, why we should dress a certain way, and why we shouldn't dress a certain way. So the first question is, does it really matter? Does it matter what we wear? Well, let's see what the scriptures say. Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 19, verses 29 through 30 says, "A man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him. A man's attire," so that would be his dress, "and excessive laughter and gait show what he is." All right. But now some may say, well, the Bible says that the Most High looks at the heart. Well, let's look at that verse. This is 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. "But the Lord, but Yahweh, said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I refused him. For Yahweh seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but Yahweh looketh on the heart." All right. Now, some are going to say, they're going to try to use that verse to say, well, see, you can just come as you are. Doesn't matter what you wear and things of that sort. But I mean, really, when you look at it, it's saying don't look at his countenance and don't look at the height of his stature. All right. Now, if that was the case, if it really doesn't matter what we wear, then why would he tell us what clothes to wear? All right. And how to wear them. All right. You have to ask yourself that question. That verse in 1 Samuel 16:7 is not talking about clothing. All right, it's basically just talking about the intent of a person. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. It says, "For thou art an holy people," and of course holy means set apart. All right, so thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Now, if we're a holy people, this would include many aspects of life, all right? And I've already mentioned this once before. This would include our worship practices, our speech, our diet, marriage practices, and yes, even our clothing, all right? So, why wouldn't he have us dress differently? Since, seeing as though we are separate from the other nations, all right, and above all the nations. Exodus chapter 28, verse 2 says, "And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty." And we're going to talk about that later on as well. But of course, we know that Aaron was from the tribe of Levi, was the high priest. They had special garments that they had to wear. But, it's saying here that the holy garments were for glory and for beauty. And that is what our wardrobes are. That's what, our clothing should be about. It should be about, representing the Most High's beauty and his glory. All right. So, of course, we're going to see here that the Most High does care about how his people look. Let's read Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 9 through 19. It says, "Then wash," and this is the Most High talking about the children of Israel, all right? It says, "Then washed I thee with water, yea, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil. I clothed thee also with a broidered work, and shod thee with badger skin. And I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck. And I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thine head. Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen, and silk, and broidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour, and honey, and oil, and thou wast exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. And thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon thee, saith the Lord God. But thou didst trust in thine own beauty, and playedst the harlot because of thy renown, and pouredst out thy fornications on every one that passed by, his it was. And of thy garments thou didst take, and deckest thy high places with diverse colors, and playedst the harlot thereupon. The like thing shall not come, neither shall it be so. Thou hast also taken thy fair jewels of my gold and of my silver, which I had given thee, and madest thyself images of men, and didst commit whoredom with them, and tookest thy broidered garments, and coveredst them, and thou hast set mine oil and mine incense before them. My meat also which I gave thee, fine flour and oil and honey, wherewith I fed thee, thou hast even set it before them for a sweet savor, and thus it was, saith the Lord God. But now if you look at the first part of this verse, he's basically saying, hey, look, the Most High saying, hey, I dressed y'all beautifully. I gave y'all beautiful garments. And then, of course, it goes on to say that we turn those beautiful garments, into something else. We basically gave ourselves over to, the idols and the other gods and things of that sort. Absolutely. That's why we fell. That's why we're scattered to the four corners of the earth now. But, starting at verse 9, he's saying that, he clothed us. All right. So if clothing and, how we dress and how we carry ourselves didn't matter to the Most High, why would he spend so much time going through and telling the prophet Ezekiel to write this down and talk about how he clothed us? All right. Now this right here is just some, depictions. I know many of you all, the first 4 pictures up there at the top, I'm sure many of you all have seen these that have come out recently. Just, depictions of the folks in the Bible, of course, being a melanated people of color. So, they have, portrayals of Rebecca, Samuel, Jacob, and Abigail. So that's just to show, how our people might have dressed or would have dressed back, back in those days, as opposed to what you see towards the bottom of the screen. All right, so you see, some of y'all probably don't even know who that is. At the bottom left, that's Lil' Kim. All right, so you see how she's changed over the years, and then you've got all these other pictures. So we left what he gave us before, the jewel in the forehead and badger skin and silk and all that. We changed that into what you see down there at the bottom. All right. Now here's the deal: the world would also want us, all right, to merge, with them. We've already left it, and of course the world wants us to do it. All right, let's look at 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verses 11 through 13. All right, it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Let's keep going. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verses 41 through 43. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. So this is some history here, and this is really going into, the Greek Empire came into power, and how they made everybody in the known world at that time basically become like Greeks. All right, so everybody pretty much had to give up their practices and merge into one deal, and that's how the world basically is doing everything now, even with our, with our dress code. All right. So if the world could do it, of course, they would have us dressing just like them. All right. Because at one time we would be holy, which is what he called us out to be. They say bump all that, let's just make everybody one people, and let's just, dress in one particular custom. All right. Now, even in the other nations, an ungodly custom can grow. Let's look at Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 16. It says, thus in the process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. So like even in the world society, over time, an ungodly custom can grow. You can look here at this picture and see, look at, the quote unquote royalty, which we know, if you go into the dark ages and things of that sort, some of this stuff isn't even, completely accurate. But if you just look at the style of dress, how you've got a clear separation between what the men wore and what the women wore. You can also see the length of, the dresses and things of that sort. And then when you get about the 1920s or so, you see here, especially with the women, you see everything starting to come up a little bit. And then by the 2010s, there's no difference. All right, there's absolutely no difference between the male and the female, and you're going to see as we continue with this presentation, the Most High is all about order, and He does put a difference not only between the children of Israel and the other nations. He also has a dress code for the men and for the women. All right, he's not about merging everything into one big lump. All right. So, even within the other nations, at one time they had a separation, but then over a period of time, everybody just kind of becomes one, just like it was back when we read earlier in First Maccabees. Everything just, becomes like one. All right, and that's not how the Most High rolls. Now, right here, I have a couple pictures. Of course, we'll start with we'll go ahead and start this presentation with the ladies and looking at the dress code for them. As you can see, none of these things would be considered modest or holy. At the bottom left hand corner you have the picture of the woman that has like a see-through little skirt on. Then of course you see all the other things. You got everything that's showing, pretty much leaving nothing to the imagination. And then you go forward. Now, some might say, well, that's a dress or that's a skirt. Yeah, but look how short that is. All right, that's not how our people are supposed to dress. All right, that dress is only going to do one thing. It's gonna leave not much to the imagination. All right, now here's the question: is length of dress mentioned in the Bible? So for you repentant Israelites, the question is length of dress mentioned in the Bible? The answer is yes. Isaiah chapter 47 verses 1 through 2. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans." Here we go right here. "For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." All right. "Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks." So that means uncover your head. All right, because our women wore head coverings. "Make bare the leg, uncover the thigh." So right there he's saying there's a difference between the leg and the thigh. "Pass over the rivers." All right, going down to Jeremiah chapter 13 verse 22. It says, "And if thou say in thine heart, wherefore come these things upon me? For the greatness of thine iniquity are thy skirts discovered, and thy heels made bare." When you go back and look in history, just like even when I showed you with the pictures of, the Western timeline and things of that sort, I'm sorry, the timeline that was a few slides back, you'll see that the women wore long dresses that even, covered the feet. All right, and that is something historically that our women did as well. That's why it talks about make bare the leg and then uncover the thigh. And then it talks about your skirts are discovered and thy heels are made bare. So, our women at one time, they wore those long dresses, and for all intents and purposes, there has been a pretty nice emergence of more modest women clothing coming out, and it's a little bit easier, I would say, to find some more longer dresses and things like that. So because people are really waking up to the truth. So these are just two pictures here, two young ladies that have dresses all the way down to the foot. All right, and this is what our women would wear back in the day. Now, what else does the Bible say about dress? All right, going back to the head coverings. All right, this is Genesis chapter 24 verses 64 through 65. It says, "And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself." And when she's talking about taking that veil, it was talking about a head covering. All right, so one thing we try to definitely tell our sisters, and we're going to read about this in the next verse as well, next couple verses, you need to have a head covering with you, at all times. Because remember, the scriptures do teach, pray without ceasing. And let's talk about that. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 3 through 7. It says, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered, dishonoreth her head. For that is even all one as if it were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God, but the woman is the glory of the man." So that's why you'll see our women back in the day, and especially now with, again, the emergence of us understanding who we truly are. You're seeing our women going back to covering their heads. And I mean, even if you look in other cultures and other societies, you know, you're going to find that a lot of women, as you know, as their religion would teach, and with us, as the scriptures teach with us, you know, they are to have their heads covered, especially during times of, you know, praying and prophesying, dealing with the scriptures and things of that sort. All right, I'm not even saying that you have to have your head covered at all times, but you need to have one with you, just like our you know, I guess you could say our foremother or our ancestor Rebecca, you know, when when she saw Isaac coming, you know, she covered. All right, and you know, in submission to, you know, who was about to be her husband. All right, and that's something that our women did, and they took pride in, and they're starting to take pride in again. So that's something you should definitely not be ashamed of. It's actually your glory to do these things. All right, and as you can see here, you got, you know, just pictures again of some sisters with their heads covered. Now, remember we read earlier that it's a shame for a man to pray or prophesy with his head covered. So you see, you got these guys here that claim to be descendants of the tribe of Judah or Benjamin or Levi. They claim they're Jews, but they're not. They're not the true Jews according to the Bible. And you can see here they have their, what you would call a yarmulke on. All right, and that's completely against the scriptures. But as you can see at the very top there, you've got women that have their heads covered, you know, during time of worship and praying and prophesying and things of that sort. All right, now let's talk about the men. All right, because, you know, I will say this. You know, I think we spend a lot of time bashing the women for their dress and things of that sort. We know the scriptures about modest apparel, and, you know, that's absolutely true. But, you know, that doesn't give any excuse for a man to dress like a clown either. All right. And as you can see, a lot of these guys right here dress like clowns. You got, you know, you got at the top left corner, the see-through shirt. Of course, you got the sagging pants. You got that dork look at the top right-hand corner. You got your man here with the short shorts on. You know, I mean, it's still immodest. All right. You see, you got rapper here with no clothes on, and he's sagging with skinny jeans on. I don't understand that either. And then, you know, on your right hand side, you know, I mean, hey, people like to go to the gym and things of that sort, but you know, women, we always say you need to watch what you're wearing because you don't want to cause your brother to stumble and sin, you know, looking at your body and things of that sort. Well, fellas, you gotta think about it like this too. I mean, you're walking around, I mean, you going to the gym, working out, okay, that's fine. But hey, there's women out there that lust after things like that too. You need to cover yourself up too. You need to be cautious of that too. All right, because I mean, it is what it is. All right, and that's not something that you need to go out the house looking like. You know, I don't care if you're going to the gym or not. All right, let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 10, verses 4 and 5. All right, we're going to see that the Bible says it's a shame for a man's butt to be shown. All right, it says, wherefore Hanan took David's servants and shaved off the one half of their beards and cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks, and sent them away. When they told it unto David, he sent them to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. So right there, he knew, hey, look, your butt showing, that's a shame. All right, you having half your beard shaved, hey, that's a shame. All right, so you see right here, and we're going to talk about beard in just a second, but right here, these two pictures right here again would be, you know, showing the crack, showing the butt. All right, and we know about where that comes from as far as the jailhouse practices and things of that sort. I mean, even beyond that, I mean, it just doesn't make good sense. There's just no way you can make sense of that. You cannot make sense of having a belt on with your pants not even on your waist. Like, that just, like, if you just think for a second, it just doesn't make any good sense. All right, but let's keep going, because here's something else that we don't think about is men. All right, and again, we harp a lot on the women, because I mean, there's holiness churches and things out there. I know about those churches. You know, I mean, good grief. I mean, you'll be just about doggone crucified if you're a woman and you wear pants and you walk into that quote unquote sanctified building, even though they're eating pork chops and stuff in the back or whatever. You know, but I mean, they harp on that kind of stuff. But you know, okay, then you got a bald-headed, bald-faced preacher up there telling you that. Well, according to the scriptures, let's see what the Bible says. Leviticus 21:5. It says, they shall not make baldness upon their head, Neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. Now, if you're going bald, that's one thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you cannot grow a beard, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the scriptures teach you don't make baldness upon your head. Then it tells you don't shave off the corners of your beard, or basically mar off your beard. That means if you can grow a beard, you should keep one. I'll never forget when I was in the so-called Christian church, I went out with some guys one time. We were supposed to be witnessing to people, and I didn't have a full beard at the time. I was growing what I could, and I remember we witnessed to this guy that was a so-called preacher, and he told me, he said, "You know something, son, if you're gonna go out spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, then you need to make sure that if you got a beard, shave it off." Like sometimes, don't you ever wish you could just go back in life sometime and really just, light into somebody? I didn't know enough scriptures back then to really combat that. But even in a lot of people's houses, you got Caesar Borgia, which is their image of Christ, but he's always got a beard. But yet you've got a lot of these churches that'll tell you, "Oh, if you got a beard, you got to shave it off, brother," and all this other kind of crap. It's like, that's not even in the scriptures. All right, in the scriptures, you're supposed to keep a beard. All right, and it makes sense because we're like lions. You know what I mean? And meaning that we're bold. All right. Well, how many bold lions do you see without a mane? All right. How's that lion gonna look if you shave all that off? It's gonna look like a girl. All right. So I'm not knocking you men, that can't grow them and things of that sort. But if you can grow it, you need to keep it, as the scriptures say it. Now let's talk about tattoos. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 28. It says, "You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord." All right. One of the worst tattoos I've ever really seen is "Only God can judge me." It's like, yeah, you're right. He is gonna judge you because he told you don't get no tattoos. All right. Now if you already got them, that's one thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't go back and undo that. I mean, I know there's surgeries and things out there that you can do. I mean, you can't go back and undo that. So if you got one, that's one thing. All right. But if you already got one, don't go looking for more. Don't say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go out there and get Yahawashi tatted on my neck." Like, no. All right, no. I'm gonna get YHWH, or I'm gonna get Hebrew Israelite tatted across my chest. No. Alright, if you want to do something, have these laws written in your heart. You don't need nothing printed on your flesh. Alright, and this goes to y'all that in these fraternities and these sororities that have you, get branded, signifying that you joined their organization or whatever. Right here, make no cuttings in your flesh. Alright, well, it says make no cuttings for your flesh for the dead. Alright, well, you know what? Your founders are dead. Alright, so don't do it. All right, there's just no justification for it. All right, this is part of our dress code, or how we keep ourselves. Now here's one that's a little more controversial. All right, and I'll be honest with you, when I first learned it, I was taken back. All right, and after you read it, if you're truly repentant and you're wanting to keep the commandments of the Most High, I'll go ahead and tell you, don't tarry on doing righteousness like the Bible says. At the same time, I mean, don't throw everything away at one time. You know what I mean? Just start making changes gradually, and pray for mercy from the Most High and start making your changes. But let's see what the Bible says about mixed fabrics. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 22 verses 9 through 11. It says, "Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with diverse seeds, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together." All right, now real quick, let's stop right there. Just look at these pictures I have here. This is an actual fruit that somebody created by mixing a banana and a kiwi. All right, now something wrong if you're looking at that top right hand picture thinking, "Man, that might taste good." No, all right, no, it don't taste good. You know why it don't taste good? Because the Bible says don't do it. All right, it says don't mix seeds. All right, so don't do that. All right, and the reason why is because the Most High is 100%. He don't want us mixing things up. Now let's read the rest of that verse. All right, the rest of those verses, it says, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. So yeah, that does mean you need to check your tags. All right, Leviticus chapter 19 verse 19, it says, you shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Thou neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. All right. Now again, he doesn't want us mixing seeds and animals and clothing, because he wants things separated, because this has always been the case within the scriptures. All right, even when you go to Deuteronomy 32, he separated the bounds of the people by the number of the children of Israel. All right, he is about separation. Okay, so start looking at your tags to see if they're 100% and things of that sort. And there's some practical reasons. I had somebody ask me once, what's a practical reason of why? Well, some people, they break out, when they wear mixed linens and things of that sort. They break out in hives on their skin. A lot of, our clothes were actually made, especially when you're wearing 100%, clothing and things of that sort. They say that clothes were made to breathe and things of that sort, basically meaning that, it can keep you cool, even if it's hot outside, depending on the type of material that you have on and things of that sort. All right. So, but when you're mixing the linens and things of that sort, you're losing that component. So there's practical reasons behind it, and the most practical reason I can tell you is because the Most High said so. He's the Father. He made you. You didn't make him. He made me. I didn't make him. And what we should do, just like with anything else, is fall in line with what the Most High says. All right, because at the end of the day, once you continue to keep the commandments of the Most High, the scriptures teach that He'll give you understanding. Great understanding have they that keep and do His commandments. All right, if you're not gonna practice these things, then of course you won't be able to get the spiritual and significant understanding behind it. Now, moving on with that. All right, not only, so we've talked about, length of clothes and things we shouldn't wear and things of that sort. There's also another component of our clothing that many of you have probably seen with many Israelites as we're starting to wake up, and that would be the fringes and the border of blue. Let's go back to when this was first initiated in Numbers chapter 15, verses 37 through 40. It says, speaking to the children of Israel, and real quick, let me back up. What happened here is there was a man that was gathering sticks on the Sabbath day after, the Israelites already told not to work on the Sabbath. They put him in ward, and they said, what do we need to do with him? Moses said, hey, take him out, stone him, get rid of him. All right, and then after that, so this happened after a Sabbath law was broke. So for those of you all that might be Seventh-day Adventist, or you might be a Sabbath keeper, or whatever, you understand, the Sabbath day of the Most High, you need to realize this right here, this commandment is connected to it. All right, so Numbers chapter 15, verses 37 through 40. It says, speaking to the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations. Notice it says throughout their generations. And that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them. And that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a-whoring, that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your God. All right, so right there, we're to wear fringes and a border of blue on all of our clothing. And it's so that we don't seek after our own heart and our own eyes and go a-whoring and, go after, other gods. I always give this example with people. It's going to be real hard if you slipping on the dietary law and you go somewhere to order something you ain't got no business, and after you get finished ordering it, the cashier's like, hey, what is that on your clothes? Now you got to look down at your fringes and be like, darn, I know I don't need to be eating that pork chop sandwich. You know what I mean? See, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do that. Or, you messing around and, you just doing something you ain't got no business doing, but then they kind of looking at your fringes and then you looking down too like, dang, yeah, I really shouldn't even be doing that. Alright, but again, the fringes are basically to help you remember to keep the commandments. Alright, they are an outward showing, of course, But, first and foremost, it's to help you remember, like, hey, you are a child of the Most High Yahweh. You need to be keeping His commandments. All right. Deuteronomy 22:12. It says, Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself. So that will be your clothing. All right. If you cover yourself with it, it needs to have fringes on it, or at least you need to have something on that has the fringes with it. All right. I know a lot of times people ask, do I have to wear them on my pants, or if a lady has on a skirt and a shirt, do I have to have them on both? As long as you have the fringes on, you're in compliance to the law. All right. Now it says four quarters of thy vesture. Let's really quick get that knocked out, because people think that means the literal four corners. But let's look at something real quick. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 12. It says, And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed for the four corners of the earth. All right. So when it says four corners of the earth, does that literally mean that we're in the North Pole, the South Pole, and as far east and as far west? Nah, that means we're all around the world. Alright, so the four corners is representing a circle. Alright, Isaiah chapter 40 verse 22, it says, It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. Alright, so when we're talking about the four corners of the earth and being scattered to the four corners of the earth, and putting the ribbon of blue on the four quarters of our garment and things of that sort, excuse me, that's talking about going around the garment. Alright, and I've got some pictures of it. The first one at top left hand, you can see down at the bottom there, you see the fringes that are hanging down there. The bottom left hand corner, you can see the fringes and the border of blue. Now at the top right hand corner, you'll see what the so-called Jewish people wear. And there's even brothers that are coming into the faith that wear something similar to that as well. But I have not found that written in the scriptures. There's even a story of how you're supposed to put those together that I've heard people try to say, and it has something to do with like 12 strands. It's just a bunch of extra stuff that you can't find in the Bible. I just read the scriptures that tell you how to do the fringes with the ribbon of blue at the fringes at the hem of your garment. And then down at the bottom right hand corner, I just have a picture of somebody actually putting the fringes on the clothes. Now, this is something I love to tell people, because people ask me all the time, what is that on your clothes and stuff like that, and I always tell them, it's in the Bible. And this story right here is actually a story that helped me to realize that I should be wearing them, because if we're claiming that we want to be like Yahawashi, whom most call Jesus, if we want to be like him, we got to look and see what he did, and he wore them. So let's go to Matthew chapter 9 verses 20 through 22. It says, And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. We're going to come back to that. But she touched the hem of his garment. For she said within herself, If I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. But Yahawashi turned him about, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. So when you look at that word hem, all right, in the Greek is 2899, in the Hebrew it's 7358. It's a fringe or a tassel, a border, all right, and it was at the hem. So when she touched the hem of his garment, she was actually grabbing onto his fringes, because that's where the fringe would have been, at the hem of the garment. All right, so that's what she was actually grabbing onto. All right, so don't be ashamed. All right, do not be ashamed of wearing your fringes. All right, if you have a work uniform or something of that sort, and you can't put them on your work uniform, that's completely understandable, especially in this captivity. Wear them underneath for now. All right, if that's what you have to do. All right, but when you're out and about, do not be, don't be afraid to let people know, what your heritage is. All right, we're royalty according to the Bible. We're a royal priesthood, according to the Bible. And these are laws that he gave us to keep. Don't be ashamed of your head covering. Don't be ashamed of, wearing your fringes. Don't be ashamed of wearing a longer garment. All right, because something else that happened here with Yahawashi that I want to tell you about. Let's look at Revelation chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. All right, it says, "And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot." Notice he's not clothed with a garment down to the belly button. All right, it says down to the foot. He was clothed with a garment down to the foot. So don't let anybody try to say, "Oh, what y'all got on," and all that kind of stuff. Hey, look, Yahawashi wore this, and he in heaven right now. And John got this revelation of Yahawashi, and it said he has a garment down to the foot. According to Matthew 9, he wore fringes. All right, so don't let anybody say anything negatively. And then when you keep going down, it talks about he had his head and his hairs. That's talking about the hair on his head and the hair on his face. All right, so don't let anybody tell you need to be ashamed of having, woolly hair or hair on your head or a beard. All right, he has one. All right, so he's the most perfect example we have of righteousness. So why would we be ashamed of wearing fringes, wearing our beards, men, and things of that sort? We have no reason to be ashamed. Now, this is what you ought to be ashamed of right here. All right? This is definitely 100% ashamed. Cross-dressing. Deuteronomy 22:5. "The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God." I know y'all can't actually see me doing this video, but I can assure you right now, I ain't got on no dress, I ain't got on no high heels, and I ain't got on no wig and none of that other crap that you see like what's on here. And yeah, I don't care if they doing it for a movie or a role or whatever. It don't make no difference. All right, the Most High is not saying, "Well, it's Jamie." No, he ain't laughing at Medea. All right, he ain't going to see none of them movies. All right, he don't care nothing about that. At the end of the day, that's a man dressed up like a woman. All right, you got the dude in the middle there that's doing the, I guess like a little runaway show. No, all right. So no, he's not down with cross-dressing in any way, shape, or form. Now the fact of the matter is, whenever we do this right here, whenever we say this information here, we look at it and we say, yeah, that is wrong for a man to be dressed up like that. Things of that sort. But then yet now when it comes to the women, oh no, now women can wear pants and things of that sort. No, because they were made for men. All right, fact of the matter. All right, that's what's going on right here. This is cross-dressing. It is what it is. I know it's a hard thing to understand and comprehend, but it is what it is. All right, now here's a perfect example right here. If you don't believe it, look at the picture. Look at the picture. Which one is the men's restroom? Which one is the women's restroom? The height, the straight leg, the pants, that's the men's restroom. Alright? The other would be the women's restroom. But again, just like we said earlier, over time an ungodly custom grows. Everybody wants everybody just to be one and things of that sort. This is what we move into now. Alright? All gender rooms. Now, when you look in the Bible, if you ever heard that statement, you're getting too big for your britches and things of that sort, that's because the britches or breeches, they were made for men. All right, just the fact of the matter. Exodus 28:42, "And thou shalt make them linen breeches." All right, which is like, again, where we get breeches. These are pants to cover their nakedness from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. So this is what the high priest would have to wear. Now, of course, the high priest was not, he was of a darker complexion, of course. But this is just an artist's replication of what they would wear. But this is where you get the breeches at in the Bible. All right, these are the pants. All right, you can say whatever you want to say, but this next little bit of information here is going to show you how women's pants were introduced into our society. All right, I'm just going to read it straight off the PowerPoint. In the Western world, historically, in that part of the world, women have worn dresses and skirt-like garments, while men have worn pants or trousers. During the late 1800s, and I'm talking about over here, women started to wear pants for industrial work. During World War II, Women wore their husbands' pants while they took on jobs, and in the 1970s, pants became especially fashionable for women. Today, pants are worn far more often than skirts by women, and many women wear pants almost all the time. Although trousers for women in Western countries did not become fashion items until the later 20th century, women began wearing men's trousers, suitably altered, for outdoor work 100 years earlier. Women working the ranches of the 19th century American West also wore trousers for riding, and other working women often wore trousers. Actresses Marlene Dietrich and Katharine Hepburn, which I'll show you a picture of her in just a minute, were often photographed in trousers from the 1930s and helped make trousers acceptable for women. So they had to make trousers acceptable for women. Alright, and here's some pictures of that. Let's keep reading. During World War II, some of this will be kind of a repeat, but just bear with me. During World War II, women working in factories and doing other forms of men's work on war service wore trousers when the work demanded it, and in the post-war era, trousers became acceptable casual wear for gardening, the beach, and other leisure pursuits. In Britain during the Second World War, because of the rationing of clothing, many women took to wearing their husbands' civilian clothes, including their trousers, to work while their husbands were away in the armed forces. This was partly because they were seen as practical garments of workwear, and partly to allow women to keep their clothing allowance for other uses. As this practice of wearing trousers became more widespread and as the men's clothes wore out, replacements were needed, so that by the summer of 1944 it was reported that sales of women's trousers were 5 times more than in the previous year. Now I want you to notice something here. Notice the common denominator. It wasn't always like that. The other nations adopted it, and now we find ourselves doing it. Alright, in the 1960s, Andre Courageous introduced long trousers for women as a fashion item, leading to the era of the pantsuit and designer jeans and the gradual eroding of the prohibitions against girls and women wearing trousers in schools, the workplace, and fine restaurants. So at one time, it was prohibited for women to wear pants. Alright, but again, over the process of time, an ungodly custom arises. Alright, the nations took it on and then they gave it to us. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Even alright, now we always quote this verse, especially when we're talking about not celebrating pagan holidays and things of that sort, but I want to quote it again. Jeremiah 10:2. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." So at the end of the day, we cannot dress like the heathen. The Most High gave us a biblical dress code. And this right here is just showing beautiful garments that some of our brothers from our ministry wear, and same thing with the sisters. Alright, longer garments down to the foot. You see they got the fringes and the border of blue. They're not concerned, and we're not concerned with dressing like the world. We're concerned with dressing how the Most High gave it to us. Alright, these are what you would call beautiful garments. Alright, a beautiful garment is not something that you can see through. A beautiful garment isn't something that isn't leaving anything to the imagination. A beautiful garment is modest. It's covering yourself. Alright, it goes back to what you were talking about, what we were talking about earlier in the book of Ezekiel. Alright, and you can look at these people and like the scriptures say in Sirach, you can tell what type of lifestyle these people live, because look how they're dressed. Alright, they're not loose. The fact of the matter is, you can say all day, oh, you shouldn't judge by the outward appearance, and you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and all that's got its place and things of that sort. But alright, when you see somebody coming, the first thing you do, you look at them. You look and see how they dress. If they dressed all sloppy, if they dressed, not put together, you automatically start thinking and assuming things. Alright, regardless of if it's right or wrong. Alright, but if you were to see one of these folks right here coming, yeah, you might say, whoa, what do they have on? But at the end of the day, you know what? I gotta respect him, or I gotta respect her. There's something different, there's something peculiar about that person, and that is why he gave us the dress code. Alright, now let me end with this verse here. Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 8. It says, "And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice, that I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel." Now the question is, what is the strange apparel? Here's the simple answer. Go back over this PowerPoint again and read the scriptures about not dressing in the mixed linen, the length of the clothes, not wearing the things that pertain to a man if you're a woman, and vice versa, and etc., etc. When you're doing those, when you're going against those things, the fringes and the border blue, when you're going against those things to the Most High, that is what's strange apparel. All right. So when you see us walking around with our fringes on, you see us, you see our women with their heads covered. You see the women with the longer dresses on below the knees and lower and things of that sort. You see our men walking around. They may have on the longer garments that might be down to the foot as well. We have on our breeches or our pants and things of that sort. Our women aren't wearing them. You might look and say, you know what? That's strange. No, not to the Most High. What you got on is strange. And the scriptures teach He's going to punish those that have on the strange apparel. So you don't want to be caught not dressing as the Most High would have you to dress. So in conclusion, all right, the Most High does care about what we wear. All right, and over a period of time, ungodly customs can become the norm, just like clothing. All right. Women should wear head coverings while dealing with the scriptures and prayer. All right, keep one with you at all times. Again, I'm not even saying that you have to have your head covered, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but have one nearby in case you need to pray to the Most High. In case prophesying is taking place, you're able to stay in compliance by, having your head covered. All right. Men should not cover their heads while dealing with the scriptures. All right, that's plain. Men are not to show their buttocks. All right, shave their beard and bald their heads. If you work a job and they require you to shave and things of that sort, as of right now, even though we're in our captivity, there are numerous laws out there and religious exemption laws that will allow you to keep your beard. You just need to speak up and say those things. All right. And again, if you can't grow a beard, if you are going bald or something of that sort, that's fine. The scriptures actually make provision for that. All right. But we're talking about just shaving your hair. We're talking about shaving your beard on purpose. All right. And again, if you don't understand the purpose of a belt, I don't know. All right. You need to pull your pants up. There just ain't no other way around it. Tattoos are going to be forbidden. All right. Again, if you already have them, that's one thing. Just don't get any more. All right. That's true repentance. Mixed clothing is forbidden. Again, hey, look, I'm not saying go and throw everything away that you own, but as you start to continue in this faith, when you're purchasing more clothes and things of that sort, you need to check your tags. All right. You may have to get into making your own clothes. There's numerous websites out there of a lot of Israelite folks out there that are starting to make clothes. You might want to start dealing with one of them. All right. One thing that I did personally, my personal testimony, as I was starting to come into it, I bought some 100% Hanes cotton t-shirts. Because I knew they were 100%, we put fringes on those. And hey, I at least had them on, so I was compliant to the law. All right, and then as the finances continued to grow, and I was able to my family and I were able to make the changes. We continued making the changes, and we're continuing to make those changes. All right, everything is always going to be a work in progress, absolutely. All right, but it's going to start with you understanding that you need to make those changes. Same thing with the fringes and the border of blue. That is to be put on your clothing. Again, there's a lot of ministries out there that are specializing in it. I know a brother down here that actually goes to a particular place to get his fringes and border of blue put on. And his testimony was when he went there, he knew that the person that was going to put him on, that person already knew what the deal was. So, it's obvious that there are people, in this area that are already doing that. All right. And I'll be honest with you, I'll go to the store to find some blue ribbon and can't find it. So, we're definitely waking up. It's a beautiful thing. Keep in mind, Yahawashi wore fringes. So you should too. Pants were made for the men, the skirts and the dresses are for the women, and all of us can be clothed in longer garments. Again, nothing to be ashamed of. And remember, the whole thing is this, and this helped me with the whole argument when it comes down to the pants and the dresses. The fact of the matter is, you would have a problem with me being a man if I was, sitting there, in a blouse or in a dress. All right, you just would. And so the vice versa has to be the same exact way. Even though it's more accepted for the women to do that, it doesn't make it right. All right. And again, if you're a lady and you've come into this truth, I know that there's videos and things out there that have actually shown how you can convert your pants into the skirts and things of that sort. Do that. You know what I mean? Remember, everything is going to start with renewing your mind first, and everything else will flow after that. But you've got to be settled in your mind first, and then the rest will continue to flow. Again, the priests were the first ones to wear the breeches or the pants, and the feminist movement and our oppressors are the ones that started the trend of the wearing of the pants, and not our Israelite foremothers. They wouldn't have done anything like that. They would have kept it 100. They would have wore their dresses, their skirts, and it wouldn't have been no question. And that's what we have to get back to. So I hope you were able to get some understanding from this video. And with that, I say shalom.